Welcome to Model Engineers Laser. My name is Holly and this is part 24 of our jack build. I'm going to start this video with doing some pretty body bits. So the first thing is looking at our cylinder covers that come from our own house. These are quite a simple pop over the top snap job to make the cylinders look a little tidier. They're quite a quick fit really, that make quite a substantial difference aesthetically. That's the first thing. Another thing that I'm just going to show you with aesthetics is about the brass boiler dome. Just came in a little packet. It's quite some weight to it. We talked about that in the first video, and that just sits on the top nicely. I've just put those on, one, because these make quite a difference cosmetically, and two, that gets something else out the box of things that I'm working through. The only thing left in the box now of bits to still go through that you get from Roundhouse, there's a lot of spares that you get. Keep them, all O-rings, star locks that we haven't yet put on, the expansion link sections, the boiler bands. We've got to take all of this off to screw for various pipe work and drill, so I'm not putting those on yet. I've got my little IKEA sandwich bag there, all my spare bits that I need to keep together. The other one, a part that's in there that we're still yet to fit, are the central buffers. So these are the extra ones that we've got. Going back to the first video, you'll have two lots of centre buffers. So these are the ones that came with it, which are the ones that we're not fitting because we're using the different styles. Those ones will be spare, and then we'll fit those later when we're no longer on the build frame. So we can put this build frame to the side for now, because the next thing we're going to start working on is our bodywork. I'm just going to move this out of shot to nice and oily from when we were running, and now we should have a nice set of laser cut parts from ourselves, Model Engineers Laser. Just going to go through the bodywork bits and explain what we have. This is the rear of the cab. So that's where the doors are, the runners, and these are the doors. Everything's just slotted and tabbed together, as we discussed in previous videos with some of the other bodywork, to keep it all together. These bits should look quite self-explanatory as the sides of the cab. This is the false roof for the cab, so you can take the roof on and off to access all the insides with struts. It should be quite self-explanatory of the spectacle plate. And this is our roof. The first activity I'm going to do is separate all the pieces that are slot and tabbed and file away any bits that are left behind from doing this process to make sure all our edges are nice and smooth on all of the parts that I have here. So I'll go away and do that now. Something that's worth mentioning, if you can see on this section here, the tab has got a little part here. You need to keep that on because that is a tab to slot onto a rim later. So when you're cutting your edges, you don't want to cut this tab off. We need to keep that. In taking off all the edges, there's a couple of things to note. You've got these support struts. There are 5 of them in the kit. You only actually need 4. The reason there are 5 is because if you drop that on a standard workshop floor, the likelihood is you're not going to find it again. So you have got a spare. The other thing to note is if you've got a kit that you've bought 2003 earlier, because we've got a couple of in stock, the first activity is to take the trim, wait for it to focus, there we go, the trim to go around your bodywork. The tabs have been cut the same length as the slots. So although they fit for width-wise and there's been an allowance in the hole there, they don't fit that way. So you're going to have to use your file to just slightly make these shorter. As I'm filming this, Ed is in the other room amending the drawing, so you don't have to take as much off in the future. But that's something you need to do manually with kits that, if you've already got them or you've bought them 2003 or earlier, you'll need to file that off. But I'm just going to go through and file these tabs a little bit shorter now. I've tried to clear the deck a little bit in the hope that the camera will focus on what I'm doing rather than what's on the table. You'll first want your rail, your trim, and your bodywork. So there's various trims, but this is one that's got a guide for a handrail on this end and flat on the other. And it has 3 slots in it, which is going to fit around this curve here. And unfortunately, there's no exciting way to do it other than by hand. So what I'm doing is with the rail at this end here, right, hole for the rail at this end here, it's just about doing little bends with your fingers as you go along. To slot it in the tabs and match it to the bodywork as you go along. Oh. Don't worry too much about it puckering, because we are going to solder this as you go along. So it's essentially a spring, so it is going to give way, but you need the basic form before you can solder it. So I'm just pinching and bending as I go along. And there, hopefully, she says, manage to get the middle tab in. Do I get this end one in? Got you. There we have it. So that's all held in with the tabs. Like I say, it is essentially a spring, so it is going to give away, but we'll hold that with a bit of solder. We need to do it again for the other side. Again, it's really nothing as glamorous as just trying to get it done with your fingers, really. Make sure you're in that first slot to guide you along. You want to make sure you get each slot as you go, because otherwise the rest of the bending isn't going to fit. That's a good one. I'm going to shake that quite well.
Mummy?
Yes, Pickle?
I'm not hiccup.
Pardon?
I'm not hiccup. I'm not hiccup.
You've got hiccups?
No.
Is that because you ate your apple too quickly? Oh, I see. Yeah, okay. And there we have it. Oh, bent a bit there. But I can straighten up and it'll probably end up getting bent when I'm soldering. But that's the first section done there. The next bit to look at for fitting is the rear of the cab. So we've got this section here with 3 tabs along the top and the bottom. These will need a little bit taken off the edge again if you've got the earlier type. And then you've got this section here, which has got 2 holes, circular holes at the end for a handrail, and then tabs either side. You've got 2 of these. One's going to fit on the top and one fits on the bottom. And then, as you can see, it's not the ones that have slots on the end. It won't fit on that one. It fits in this one here. And that's going to fit all along there. But before you fit this one, there's a guide rail, which is the one that is completely flat on 3 edges, and then it's got 4 tabs on the other end. Now this fits into, wait for it to focus, the one that was on the long side there, and they slot into there. She says, trying to do it with my bare fingers and see, make sure you've got it in shot. So flatten those pliers just to tease it in, because for those of you who've seen my previous video, I am hypermobile and have no grip in my joints and strength in my joints. So it does need a little, you're going to solder these in eventually anyway. So this is the first section, but I just wanted to show you the back first before I put this in there, because it's going to make viewing it quite difficult. I have already filed all these down to fit in. Sorry, just take it out so I can't see what I'm doing. There we go. And then finally, can you see? There we go. On the last one. There we go. So if you can see, you've got a little channel there. And then we're going to add that section on there. It's going to give you a little slot. You see that there? And that is where your doors are going to slide in and out. So you need to do both of these. And then once they're done, we're going to attach it to here. So let's do that. Tidy up. Hopefully you can see. I'll be doing it there. There we go. So we've got that section and that one. So when they're attached to the rear, there we go, we're in shot. We're going to have a nice little groove for the doors to sit into. Okay. Keep pausing to make sure it's in shot. There we go, we've got them. Use the table to help me get some grip. There we go. So just move to make sure. So can you see? We've now got a little groove there and groove there. So when we've got our doors, you locate it in the bottom one and in the top one. And that's how they go together. So that's ready for soldering. It was ready for soldering before the bottom came off, which is the whole reason why it needs soldering. Like I said in my very first video, you're going to get all the bloopers in this, like bits falling off. There we go. So that's ready. That piece there is ready for soldering. It's all together quite snug. And then once it's all soldered, we can look at making sure that everything sits quite smoothly, because some of them are slightly, like that bit there, slightly proud. These will need tidying up a bit, which is absolutely fine. So this bit's ready for solder. These bits are ready for solder. The doors don't solder just yet. We're going to keep those to the side. With the roof and the false cab, we'll go outside and do the soldering. We've talked about these slots and tabs lining up and making sure they fit. So if you can see these, I haven't actually taken any off these. These fit quite nicely. Before you look at soldering that section together, just do a little dry, because it doesn't need a massive curve in it. We'll talk about soldering that together, but before you do, it's worth making sure that all the taps have got room, which they have, which is fantastic. And then equally, we need to do it for the other support. Make sure that the slot's filled. I haven't actually checked this, so no, that one just needs a bit taken off. That one fits fine. Yeah, that middle one definitely needs a bit taken off. That one fits fine. Yeah, and that rear one is fine as well. So I just need to skim a little bit off that on there. Just a touch. Don't forget, brass is quite soft. Hello. Your tongue's poorly. That's probably because you've eaten too many Easter eggs, isn't it? Yeah. That's better. It fits a lot nicer there. The last stage for getting ready for soldering is to tack the more difficult pieces in place with some non-coated soft iron binding wire. Just stole this off Ed. I'm just going to cut a section off. What you're trying to achieve is these places here where you've got a gap, where you want it to be held together while you're soldering. This is what this is going to be for. If you've got a vise to hold it in, this is great. So I haven't got one in where I'm working, so I haven't got to hand. Now the thing to remember with this is you've got tabs here. So if I were to wrap the wire over there and it were to slide off, you've then got this gap where the tab would fit. So you're not going to get a tight fit. So I'm aiming to get the wire in that tab there. That's about as being as tight as you can with the wire. I'm completely missing it at the same point. Has that got it? That's got it. There we go. Now, this has got to happen in various sections to make sure that everything's held in place before I can get to soldering. You can see that sliding up and down there. I might just give that another twist with flat nose pliers to pinch it tight all the way up. That's better. Yeah, that's not moving. And it's closed that gap up lovely. So I need to do it here as well. It's going to be an awkward angle to get it on. There. I also need to do it on the other section, other side of this, because that's got quite a significant gap, sort of this angle here. This part is actually quite snug and quite, like I can shake that about. It's not going to fall apart, so I don't need to put any wire on that. So I'm going to wire these all up and call it quits on this video here. My next video will be outside and we'll be soldering it all together and making a little cab ready fit for the back. Thank you very much for joining us. Please remember to like and subscribe. It helps promote our message a little bit more. and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much.